to Tech Talk Weekly. This is Bob from Creation Station. This is our weekly show where we talk about 2 to 3 interesting topics in the news, give you a cool library fact, and send you on your way in about 20 minutes or so. As always, if you have any ideas for stories that you'd like us to cover, creationstation@broward.org comes directly to us. And this week, my guest host is Aaron from the Nova Southeastern Library. Technically it's Alvin Sherman. Fill me in on that. What's the actual really wording there, Aaron?
Alvin Sherman Library, Alvin Sherman Library and Research Information Technology Center.
Yeah,
It's the whole thing.
as I always just throw like Nova, and that's where we're going and doing it. But yeah, we wanted to get you guys on because you are part of the Broward County Library System. If you've got a Broward County Library card, folks, you have free access to the Nova stuff. You have access to a university library, all the laws, all these things. We'll hit that up afterwards, but we got a lot of fun, cool stories to talk about today. Let me toss up our browser here. The first one is a quickie on Amazon Alexa and Cisco WebEx. If you thought those were going away because of the pandemic, they're never going away, folks. NASA's actually sending them up with Callisto, who is going up as part of the Artemis project. Callisto is the dummies that are in the thing. How much have you used voice assistants out there, Aaron?
Me, I'm a little trepidatious about it. HAL 9000 really sunk that ship. Haven't trusted them since.
And that's exactly what I'm imagining. A lot of people at NASA have made that joke right now with this whole thing. It's a special version of Alexa, obviously, and I am sorry. I'm waking up everybody's things. If you're listening, I apologize. But it's a special version of their voice assistant that doesn't need the internet. So it does everything
I was very
internal.
interested to hear that they had no Wi-Fi, so they had to predetermine the commands that the astronauts were going to be using.
Yes. And WebEx over internet from space is going to be really interesting. If you haven't been in a WebEx event where sound or video paused or was garbled or something, you just have not lived, folks.
I'm
So
sure they had
yeah,
to do some special processing on the back end to
yeah. Which I think is really good because if you can make it work from space, you should be able to make it work anywhere else on the planet. So hopefully this is going to be a better thing for all of us in the nearest future there. And speaking of the future, that's kind of where this next story is. It's all about public health and whether our current way of looking at health is going to change or not. A lot of this was all about that super precise health data that you may or may not be able to get out of a space. They talked about testing in New York City here. What do you guys have out there? You were part of the health department out there, right, Aaron?
I previously worked at the health professions library, so I am familiar with a little bit of healthcare news and things like that. Yeah, I was interested to precision health and getting the right patient at the right time, using big data. Very interesting to me about predicting how a pandemic's going to move, getting to the right area that you need to be in. It's good stuff.
Yeah. And the map that I have up here is not from our current pandemic, from a previous one in 1854 in London. And it was a physician who figured out how to track cholera cases and how things were developing. And so this was one of those things that caught my eye. I'm like, hey, wait a minute, I know about this story. So this is where a lot of our modern day medical tracking stuff starts, with this doctor back in the 1850s who decided he's going to actually map out every instance of this disease around his neighborhoods to figure out where it was coming from. So it's not a new thing, folks, but we're actually beginning to process. Like you said, big data can really help us with that. And don't worry, guys, all these links will be on the site like we always do. I'm not so certain I like this one, though.
I was looking into that a little bit too, and the pricing for it is, and the fact that they won't have access to your medical records. So it seems like this service that LG is offering is uh, just going to cost you more time than it's worth.
Yeah. I mean, I get the idea of the health thing, and like one of the things they talk about in the article is if you're just trying to do this by phone, you can't use the phone it's back here. Let me, all those sorts of things. And I've done telemedicine prior to the pandemic. When I went in for some physical therapy stuff, and the doctor had me stand in a room. She was on camera and she told me, bend here, do this, show this. And then she was able to bring it right back up on her camera and show me, no, this spot on your back is where that pain is. And we need to do some exercises for that. So I see how it could work. I don't trust LG. I mean, I don't trust Apple. I don't trust Google. So, I have a fitness tracker, but it's from a healthcare company. Why things? It's a healthcare company. It's not a gadget maker. LG's trying to sell me a new TV and trying to sell me more stuff on their TVs. I'm not so certain about this one.
They partnered up with a different app though, that in
Yeah. That Independia.
so I'd have to look into that before I really trusted the service.
Yeah.
haven't looked into it.
Yep. And also, by the way, if anybody's like, oh wait, now Bob's going to talk about all the new cool stuff coming out because CES is happening this week. No, we don't do that kind of stuff around for our show here because we only talk about stuff you can actually buy. Like this right now, you can go buy this and subscribe to Independia and use this as a healthcare option. We're not going to give you stuff that, oh, maybe next year vaporware it'll come out. We'll hit that up later. Speaking of those things that do come out, robotic dogs are a big thing, and they actually happened, and they do come out.
They've seen their fair share of CESs over
Yeah.
the last decade, and more.
Uh-huh.
It's not really a new thing.
No, I mean we had those little ABO, robotic dogs. We had those in the library here back in 2014, 2015. These little dogs right here they're making a comeback after being off the market. Now they're coming back for it. But what do you think? Let me get this one here. Tell me about Aaron, what the heck is this thing?
Yeah, I'm skeptical. They were talking about how the data is there, that it doesn't. Most people don't look at a face of their animal when they're petting it, but um, just looking at it, it's a little awkward.
Well,
But
and I don't get that. I mean, when I've got a dog or a cat, I'm scratching its ears. I'm looking at the face. They're looking at me. We're going back and forth.
about that connection, yeah,
Yeah, I, I don't get this one.
companionship starts there. Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
and this is just a fancy stuffed animal, right? I mean, or at least that's what it feels like to me, I guess.
We're the outliers there.
Yeah, maybe. But so a couple of stories this week about how all of these various different types of robots are out there, robotic pets moving along. Again, none of this is really new sometimes. 1998 is when they first launched this seal to go out there and help people with dementia and with PTSD because it's just having that small little thing that feels alive makes you feel like you might actually have something more along the lines with you. So,
About the research behind imparting social skills to children who might be on
yeah.
autism.
Yep, exactly. The
So
autism thing's really good because it does. And I know that they use those things right now for doing those pieces. Um, it's a nice little additional thing, but I think these are things that are not going to be totally replacing humans anytime soon, or even our own pets, as long as you can still have. Um, Although that leads us to the idea that, yeah, you've already been replaced by a robot at work, quite possibly.
subject.
Yeah. I mean, I hate some of the phrasing in this article about low skill because it's not low skill. It takes certain skills. It's a lower education required. It's still high skill to be able to work in a fast food place and do these things quickly and manage, time management skills and all that stuff. But yeah, the idea of filling out, how to fill out certain repetitive tasks that go on, and some of the things like cleaning. All these are advanced Roombas. I can see that getting these sorts of things. Here in South Florida, there was a Amazon warehouse that recently opened up down in Miami-Dade, and they hired 200 workers. I think the number was, and 700 robots to move things around the factory floors and do things and to get all this kind of stuff going on. You got any robots out there yet?
Not around here yet. Uh, Not looking to be replaced quite yet.
By a voice assistant? We have voice assistants on all of our public service desks in Broward County libraries, so it hasn't replaced a single librarian yet, folks. It's all there to help out and do that. Um, but then this other idea about the robotic dogs and how we all wanted these companions was a story that came out just the week before. And what do we think? Again, ABO and all these various things and all the kind of things that came up about it. What part do you see robots being useful around, even just using the library setting, or in general, or at home for you, Aaron?
For the library, robot dogs in the library.
Or just any kind of robots? What kind of robots would you want?
Well, the the ones they were talking about in the article, therapeutic robot dogs, I'm all for. When you get into the Boston Dynamics dog robots, I start getting a little more squeamish. Uh,
Mm-hmm. Bring up
but
a picture. Here you
I'm
go.
for them until
There's, oops. I was gonna say, here's a picture of that Boston Dynamics dog right there for you.
I'm for them until they start stomping on our skulls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's an interesting thing because you can do so much with an individual robot that does specific tasks. I did find one other link about that for that's recent here, where they're replacing, again, on a very repetitive thing that is the same thing again and again and
Specialized.
again. Yep. And those work. I don't know if you know this comparison story. If you want to know, the best robot to change a light bulb is a human, because a human can go change any one light bulb. If you want to be able to change 100 different light bulbs, your best bet is a human, because a human can change 100 different light bulbs. If you have one light bulb that has to be changed 100 times, then you get a robot, because that robot can do that same thing time and time and time and time and time again, and it won't get bored, and it'll just keep doing the same thing. Which is where I think all these robot stories all combine into that idea of the only thing they're good for is what needs to be repetitive happening. Even with the therapy stuff, you just need a robot to be there to keep someone's attention, to be able to, keep them focused, to do these things, to help out in therapy like that. Or like this one here in Finland, which just goes through the recycling. All it does is pull out paper, pull out paper, pull out paper. That's it. And just
Yep.
repetitive
Doing
stuff
the
like
job no
this.
one else wants to. I think
Yeah.
that's a good
Yeah.
use for robots. Yeah.
And that fits right into our current job situation, where everybody now most workers now understand you have that ability to go to where you want to, and you don't have to do the job just because you're stuck there. You actually get to choose what kind of job would you want to do, those sorts of things. Instead of a great resignation, it's really it's reapplying. I don't know how you would phrase that as
The assignment.
yeah, reassignment. I like that. That's a nice term for it there, Aaron. Thank you. But that ability to do that. And then we fill in with robots behind you for the things that don't need it. You could run a fast food place. I think there was an example here. Here we go. Of restaurants using these just to deliver food. You've got your people running the back. Here's the order. Boom, hit the button. It goes out to your table. It delivers your food. It comes back, gets the next order, etc. And it does. There's a couple of restaurants down here in South Florida doing this right now. So yeah, and it's I've got friends who have had to show me video and pictures like, Bob, you won't believe what's at my restaurant, and I'm like, cool, thanks. I'm still not going to restaurants right now, but but yeah, and there's some really interesting ways of doing these sorts of things, and the final one is, where do you draw the line between a robot and just a machine? Because they're talking about cupcakes and pizza robots, and it's like, it's a vending machine you get your cupcakes out of. That's not a robot. If it makes coffee for me, that's not a robot. That's just a vending machine, right?
The number of tasks it can perform, just like you said, a human can do 100 different light bulbs. If a robot can do 6 different light bulbs.
Yeah. I don't know. Does a pizza is a machine that spits out pizza? Is that a vending machine or is that a robot? I'm not quite. Yeah, I know. What is it? Is it positive or I don't? I think overall it's a good thing. I think, but I did want to cover here at the end here for you. I wanted to cover this. I'm gonna bring this up. You just lean in and tell us about this. What's going on over there at Alvin Sherman?
Sure. Well, you just saw on there that we're having our Power Publishing Day coming up on Thursday, January 27th. It's one of those slides. It's an event that features workshops for people looking to publish their scholarly works, or who want to be involved in the process, peer reviewing and things like that. So if you're interested in that, I encourage, it's open to the public. So and the sessions are all day long. So if you can only make one, you can join us via Zoom. You don't have to be in person. We encourage you to be there. But I did also want to reiterate what you said at the beginning. A lot of people don't know the Alvin Sherman Library is part of the Broward County library system. So I feel like people are still discovering that. So thank you for mentioning that.
Oh,
if you
yeah,
live,
no.
work, or go to school in Broward County, the Alvin Sherman Library would like to have you as a patron.
Yeah. Again, if you live, work, or go to school in Broward County, you get a free Broward County library card. A free Broward County library card lets you use Nova's library for free, even the online resources. I talk about this all the time. If you haven't been and used LinkedIn Learning, for example, if you really want to, feel free to go pay $30 a month for it, or get it for free with your library card, folks. And you can just log directly into Nova through the Broward County system and go in and get it. And it's all there for free. And if you were born in Broward County and you were moved to Ohio for some horrible reason, we will still give you a free Broward County library card and let you come back in and help you learn and get all those things that you need. University of Michigan won this year. I always got to represent for my sister. She's a huge alumni up there. Well, thank you so much, Aaron, for being out here today to get us up on all these different things. What have you been working on out there? Tell people what you actually do, because you're not like the frontline person. You're helping everybody else there at the library. Tell them what you do.
I am a little bit behind the scenes. I wanted to thank you for having me on. This is the kickoff of season 2, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I'm kind of behind the scenes here at the Alvin Sherman Library, but I help make sure that when you want a database, it's there for you and you have access. So.
And these are the important people that all work. I mean, some of us get to be out front and do all these things and be a face. Aaron is the one who made sure everything worked. All those things that we just talked about, folks, and make it all happen. So thank you again very much for taking that time out of the day to be here, Aaron. Let me throw up our final slide. As always, if there's a librarian or a library you want to see featured on the show one week, creationstation@broward.org. Let us know, and we'll be glad to have them on. Have a great week, everybody. Stay safe.